welcome back to a grand episode of Game. To my right, we've got Never Empty Phillip. To my left, we've got the woman slayer, the Spider-Man tie wearing, the velvet coat making look so just dapper and dynamic, GQ. I need you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, like us on Instagram, follow us on Instagram, retweet, follow us on Twitter, then retweet us again. Hit us up on Facebook. Again, always, you know, you got us at gameshowchat@gmail.com. So, today, what we are going to discuss, I don't remember.
Really? You forgot it? Well, since he doesn't know what
There
the
you
topic is, I'm gonna slide it.
Oh, there it is. Woo, woof. Because I had to look at who I got with these gentlemen here. We're going to discuss nerds. Prior, I thought we were talking about nerds.
That's fine.
Oh, okay. Okay, we're talking about nerds, and now how have they? Now they seem to be popular, or they seem to be accepted, whereas in before they were not. And even right here on this panel, we've got three different types. Even though he doesn't look it, we've got a guy who's Power Ranger crazy. He loves everything Thundercats and Voltron. Mr. Voltron here. Then we've got Mr. Dapper, the man who you would not think, but he's so smooth, nobody even notices the Spider-Man tie. And then we got the old thug who just got tired of pillaging and killing and just decided, you know what, let me just read a comic book once or twice. So, fellas, what do you guys think? Like, what happened?
Do I want to bring out an old story about
What happened?
the introduction to how we brought you into the culture?
We don't have enough time for that. But so what would you guys think though? Because obviously there was a time where being a quote unquote nerd wasn't what it is now. It was you being stuffed in a locker by somebody twice your size, and you were wrote off as pimple faced, as you had the pocket protector, you had the tape right here on said glasses. Definitely not looking like this gentleman here, and even how you're dressed in your wolf in sheep's clothing outfit.
Well, I can say personally, in high school, I did stop reading books. Like, I literally stopped reading books. I thought it was
because of peer pressure.
That too. It's like you into the whole different thing in high school now. It's like you exploring new things, and I read comic books. Oh, what? You read comic books, especially being black too.
Correct.
And it's like come from the city we come from. It's like, oh, you read comic books, you a nerd. You know what I'm saying? So I literally stopped reading comic books. I stopped doing all the nerd stuff, and I was trying to be cool with everybody else, which I didn't really fit like that. But I was there. I had to be somebody I wasn't, and then that's how people remember me as. But now they see me bringing out my nerd flag. It's like, okay, that's cool. But now it's like, I think because of the movies.
Just make sure you say nerd flag. Make sure you get that out there.
Yeah,
You say it together. I'm just letting you know.
I think because of the movies now, and that's so popular, I think that's why everybody's become more acceptable now. Like the Avengers movies and most of the Avengers, I don't know DC put out, but most of the Avengers movies, because everybody want to see Thor with his shirt off, and the women. That's I think it's more women. I think more women who are non-nerds are into more of the Marvel stuff because of the characters they're picking.
Okay, well then not to want to cut you off, but from what I was told, this gentleman quarterly here has always been who he's been and has never, strayed from who he was. So how do you feel on the change of times?
I'll have to definitely agree about the movies, but I think what really is letting the nerds kind of resurge and come back is social media. Social media has opened up doors that people never really thought that they were going to get behind. Like, for example, you got celebrities on Twitter, you got people on Instagram, Tyrese, I mean, I hate to even bring it up, but he's campaigning, trying to become the Green Lantern. And it's like 20 years ago, it would have just been, he would have been going around, knocking on studio doors. He wouldn't have been able to just jump on Instagram or jump on Twitter and say, hey, I would like to do this.
Or on Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook as well. So, I mean, I think what it is you're getting that openness all of a sudden to people of like, it's like, hold on, everybody ain't cool 24/7. It's impossible to really truly be the actor you are or the football player or whatever. You have a life outside of your profession. So a lot of people are starting to get that peek into the door, and it's like, wait a minute, you like comic books, you collect RPGs and figures and you collect all, so people are getting a better look
Just
into
to be
what
clear,
yeah.
For the still thugs out there, RPG?
Okay, I apologize. Role-playing games, tabletop RPG type stuff. You know, like the Dungeons and Dragons and that sort of thing.
I know
you
some
know,
guys
'cause
that have
they-
got some
yeah,
RPGs in the basement.
Well, exactly. Those are the ones you got to watch out for.
Yeah.
You know. But I mean, again, and it goes back to high school. I was the one that I didn't care about fitting in or not. I didn't really care. I was just going to be me. And you know, my ego is like, well, I'm, you know, above other people, not just because I'm taller than them.
Because you're one of the king's kids.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. So it's like, for me, it's like, you know what? I'm going to wear the tie, whether you like it or not. And here's the thing. I've had this exact same tie. I can afford other ties, don't worry. I've had this, I just wore it for illustrative purposes. I've had this tie since high school. So this tie honestly is, you know, over 20 years old. But guess what? You know how hard it was to find this back then? That's you know, obviously with the internet and eBay, I mean, because you guys have seen my cufflink collection, it's half.
Monstrous.
Right, exactly. It's like half comic book related stuff.
Correct.
The the Superman cufflinks I found was at the Warner Brothers store back when they were still open. That was the only way you could have got something like that back then. The internet's completely opened it up. Different types of merchandise. Thanos, you know, bank, you know, Infinity Gauntlet bank behind you. Thor's hammer. I mean, it's all this stuff that we would have loved to have is everywhere because, like you said, because of those movies. The movies have just kind of opened everything up, and I think social media has done the same.
Yeah, and then, well, I would say from my take, I think it's to add on to what both of you gentlemen are saying, is when you see someone whom you wouldn't think would be involved in liking comics or a certain type of movie, that changes the entire dynamic. So, like, okay, so we have the three of us, and then out of everybody, obviously you with the glasses on kind of give it away, but he's got on a Spider-Man tie. Like, out of everybody, wouldn't nobody think that I would know that Wolverine's real name is James, you know, and this is something I've known for some years, but it's when people see somebody whom they want to emulate, whether it's you, whether it's GQ, and then, oh, wow, you like this? Oh, okay, so I can be me. This is cool. I don't have to, you know, worry about being ridiculed because it's not going to happen. But then also to your social media point, it's so easy to find 20,000 people who think just like you, and you all aren't going to look the same. Right. So you have the opportunity to band together and become and have a larger voice than you would in reality on the internet. But then as you do that, you find out that there are football players, basketball players, whomever that like these things. And then when people notice that confidence and know that you're not going to waver, a la you, then people are, okay, well, that's just who he is, so we got to accept it. And then you'll have guys who might drift over like, hey, man, this is pretty cool, but like how you did when you said you had to flip it because you know, weren't sure where to go. Once everybody sees that's accepted and this is who Philip is, this is who Megashaun is, this is who GQ is, then it's kind of like, oh, okay, well then maybe I can get with it. And then other people are just going to throw you in the locker.
Well, let me ask you a question then. When you were who you were back then, and then you start getting into it, did you feel that you're going to be ostracized about it from your peers in that realm of that life?
Maybe one person, but you know, if you're not, you know, if you're not running with me, you better run from me. You know, so that's the outlook I've always had. And if whom I feel great being, if someone, you know, can't get with that, you know, then we just part ways. You know, no bad feelings, but you know, this is what I like to do, so this is what it's gonna be. And then, you know, so hey, if you like apples, then don't come over to my house, but you know, all I got is oranges. You know, so
well, and I think even to that, I mean, because going back to my own experiences, when I used to go to the arcades, of course, that's when you get all your game heads. They're always going to be there, they're always talking games. Usually, a lot of them talk comics because it's, you know, it's that group of people that are quote unquote nerds would hang out in arcades. I was seeing people, not just myself, but like I was seeing stockbrokers in there. I was seeing people like, you know, people driving Jaguars up to the arc, you know, and these guys are older. There's, you know, not like, you know, they're older. These guys, like, you know, I knew this one guy, he worked at like Ford or something, and he drove like, you know, one of their top, you know, cars or sports cars or whatever. And I'm like, how long have you been playing? And it wasn't like he had a casual interest in it. He played Killer Instinct like an expert. Like he played it like a pro. So it was like, you know, it's like, wait a minute, you normally think it's always going to be a teenager or somebody that's, you know, freshman year in college. That's when they kind of stop playing. This guy was like, he had at least been in his 40s at the time. And you know, he was a successful guy, and it's like, no, he was a gamer though. That was what he liked.
And then also the ridicule. You know, people that say, oh well, that's for kids. You know, so then people like you kind of feel bad about it.
Right.
You don't want to be chastised, so you kind of move away. But then when people realize it's adults writing this for other adults, like, you know, okay, it's not as long as a Lord of the Rings book, but it's still the same thing. Like, granted, there's pictures, but it paints it better for you. But now I will say it was the Black Panther, to answer your question. Waffles had showed me a book, and you know, I was aware because of the cartoon of how powerful Apocalypse was and how powerful Sabretooth was. But to see this black guy, this king, get rid of these two, you know, because not to make it about race, but you know, I'm getting ridiculed by my buddies about a bunch of white dudes in tights. But then here comes a black king, and he's the man.
Yeah.
You know, would you like to know more?
Yeah, exactly. Not only the king, but he wasn't a stereotypical
Right.
follow along. He was like, no, I am
Right.
who I am. Period.
Right. Yeah. You know, and not to knock Luke Cage or anything like that, but he wasn't. He wasn't a stereotype. He wasn't jeans, a shirt, and boots mayhem.
Yeah.
You know, he was.
He was royalty.
He's royalty.
Yeah.
You know,
And he
so
carried himself
and that was great.
The dude stalked the Avengers just to figure out who they like, figure out
Like,
everything about them.
and
Yeah,
that
like
in
that's
itself was intriguing
Yeah.
because it was something I had never, besides Blade.
Right.
But as you know, as we've probably discussed in other episodes, that they never even got him right from a comic book
Right.
standpoint.
Not to jump in too much, because I'm pretty sure we're running down on time, but
More than likely.
and here's why I think the rise came, and this is where I think the rise comes from, and you touched on it earlier. Women.
yeah.
Wherever the crowd of women goes, guys are going to follow.
Exactly.
That's just how it's going to. That's how it's going to work. You got cosplay.
Yeah.
You've got. I mean, I interviewed the first person I ever interviewed celebrity-wise was Trish Stratus. Now that was. I'm sorry.
man.
As far as
Back in the
tiers
day, she
go,
was-
that's top tier
Yeah.
coming out the gate.
Man.
So I interviewed her, and she, you know, we just got to talking or whatever, and she said the reason she looks the way she looks is she modeled her body after the female form depicted in comics.
Nice.
So all of you women out there that complain about that, it is possible. It can be done. But I mean, again, and that's, you know, she was a fitness model at the time. She wasn't even a wrestler yet.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's somebody that did something extremely geeky, but it served her extremely well because the woman is, you know, made money.
But
And
then
then-
you have people that's just like, oh, women is dressing up, like that's so disrespectful toward. No, this is what they love to do. This is the characters they love. Let them
the
enjoy
people
that.
who, when they don't understand
They don't.
things, even in regards to calling people nerds, you know, they don't understand it. It's dismissive.
Yeah.
So they push it away. But what I would like to ask you guys real quick, you mentioned the movies, social media, Black Panther, Comic-Con. How much of a role do you think Comic-Con, as well as social media being allowed to stream it, how big of a role do you think that played in getting people engaged? Because it's such a major event, even a celebrity event at this point.
Yeah.
It's big now. It's getting bigger than what it was when we went. Because now, since like you said, the movies come out, so more people who are not comic book fans, oh, what is this about? Let's go check this out. And they see it and they like it and they enjoy it and they start becoming fans.
And then they let the guard down.
Let the guard
I
down.
can be me here.
Yeah,
Forget it. I'll just be me in the world.
Right.
You know?
And not only that, to bring it into corporate, it's money.
It is.
E3 became so big from a Hollywood media standpoint. You had Sam Jackson hosting the Gamer Awards. So it's like, once money, women and money, once those two things come together, the crowd's going to come, because I'm sorry, sex sells, and I'm sorry, if money is to be made, people that want money are going to jump on
And
it.
now, touching your topic about that, now actors want to get in some Marvel and DC stuff just for that check.
Yeah.
So that goes hand in hand even more.
All right, well, continue to subscribe to everything Culture Junkies, everything game, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Subscribe to that channel. Like, comment, please. Good, bad, leave any comments. Hit us up at gameshowchat@gmail.com. Keep all of it coming. We love you guys. For Philip, for GQ, and this magnificent coat and tie, I am Megashaun. Talk to you guys later.
So this is your first convention. Do you like it so far?
I love it. I modeled my body after the female form depicted in comic books. So so I've been waiting to kind of cross over, and this is my first one. I'm really enjoying it.
Culture Junkies!